a first-time caller down in Southend-on-Sea. Hello, James.
Hello, mate.
What do you want to say?
We seem to have a major problem with British phobia, don't we?
Explain.
Well, we seem to have a lot of people that don't like the British way of life. It has to have all these other countries come in and give their part, and we all have to accept that. But yet they all seem to be worried about the way, like, the British people are.
Yeah.
You know, we seem to be losing our values, and everybody's like, oh, no, you can't have anything British.
Well, we haven't done that. Well, it's the establishment elite who want us to feel as if being British. When you got people like Emily Thornberry turning her snooty nose up at some bloke displaying the flag of St. George outside his bedroom window when we're playing soccer, that's the problem. But it isn't us who are turning against the British. It's our lords and masters, our betters, or so-called betters. They're the ones who hate being British. I love being British. I love being English.
Yeah, but
and by the way, I don't hate Europe. I don't like the EU, but I don't hate Europe. I love Europe. I love Italy. I love Spain. I even like France.
But we do seem to have a problem with British phobia, don't you think?
Yeah, we do. Especially in the mainstream media, in the BBC and Sky. They look down their snooty noses at anything English. Not just British, mate. It's more English. They haven't got a problem with the Scottish and the Irish and the Welsh. They like that, the Celts, but they don't like English because they think we're all knuckle-dragging racists.
Exactly. And something needs to be stopped. We have all these task force for Islamophobia and people saying all hate speech. But what about people that do the hate speech directed at the British public? Directed at our way of life? They seem to be getting off scot-free.
Absolutely. Well done, James. Now you phoned me once, make sure you do it again. This is a good one from Tom on Twitter. This is working to May's advantage, Gaunty, hiding her failures on immigration when she was Home Secretary, which is why she's now siding with Khan on the amnesty. I think you're right, mate. Boris Johnson, he used to always want an amnesty as well. He thought if we let all the illegals stay, that would stop it. It wouldn't, would it? Be a green light. You'd be thinking, oh, if I get into Britain, hide for a few years, then they'll let me stay. We need to I would have mass deportations of illegals. I'm sorry, I would. And that Rod Liddell article, can you find me that in the New Statesman? The Raheem, is it in the Sun? Spectator, yeah, it wouldn't be in the New Statesman, would it? That's the Labour lovely one. Find it in the Spectator. Bring it through to me, please. I'd like to have a quick look at that whilst I'm on air. 020 38 29 1234 is your telephone number. Fruit picking. Let's not lose that. It's a good story as well. Emily, wait there. I'm going to talk to you in a moment. And Anne-Marie Waters, you're next. Hi, John. It continues to be an informative show. Well, that's part of what we're trying to do. Thank you, Dawn. Fruit picking is not for the work shy. It's hard work, but great fun. And you get free strawberries. I did this in 76 in the heat wave. When all the I was telling you, hey, boys, do you remember me telling you that story today about the ladybirds? Huh? Do you remember me telling you? And that waterfall I went to that summer. Do you remember? Hey. I told them a funny story earlier. They're laughing their ducks off through there now. Don't you ever repeat. I should be careful what I tell you, lads. Because you're going to write the unauthorised biography, aren't you, of that fat boy Gort. We'll tell you what he's really like, huh? When he's off air. Anyway, where was we up to? So she was working in the heatwave. I was only 19. Part-time, I worked since I was 14. Then I started my traditional nurse training in 77 until 2009, and now I'm retired. It's all about parenting, attitude and money, good John. The parent bank these days is still digging deep, coughing up to push the emphasis onto the electorate. Those of us continuing to pay bills for those teens who haven't broken free. Housing problems are causing our young people to still live in the parental home, blocking them from any sort of quality of independence. And the current demand for immigrants just doesn't help the situation. Great to hear Raheem again. This is our specimen of what living in the West can present. Intelligence. He's a great man, says Dawn. He is. He's a great man. He's a bit of a drinker, though, when you go out with him. You've got to make sure he buys his round, let me tell you. Right, 020 38 29 1234 is your number. Let's talk to Anne-Marie Waters. Then I want to talk to Emily, and her dad was one of the firefighters in the tower blocks. That'll be a fascinating call. Emily, don't go away. And if you're trying to get through, there's 2 free lines at the moment. 239s at the moment. 020 38 29 1234. Well, yesterday's Queen's speech could have been written on the back of a beer mat. 9 minutes. It only went on for 9 minutes, huh? I've had takeaways that have lasted longer. I was going to say something else there. But something that did make it into the speech was new legislation against Islamophobia. In the wake of the Finsbury Park attack, the Prime Minister has called for a new task force to tackle various forms of extremism, including making Islamophobia a hate crime. Is this the start of a slippery slope into censorship? We've already had Ian Fale saying he'd never interviewed Tommy Robinson. Who else did we have? Little Ian Lee on his silly little programme late at night. He's calling everyone a fascist, even his own radio station, for having hate preachers on, as he calls them. And who else got upset? Somebody else got upset about it as well. Oh, Piers Morgan. They'll all be burning books next week. So is it the slippery slope into censorship? What is Islamophobia? Joining me now is the director of Sharia Watch UK. Make the most of it till she gets locked up. Anne-Marie Waters. Hello, Anne-Marie.
I seriously hope that's not true.
Well, I think they'll have you away very, very soon. Talk to me about it then. What is Islamophobia?
That's exactly the most important question. Has Theresa May answered it?
No.
No. Any definition I have ever seen of Islamophobia includes Islam. And it's basically opinions on Islam. Dictionary definitions of it includes Islam. It's Islam and Muslims, so it's not about Muslims, it's about Islam itself. Every definition I've seen. And more detailed definitions will give you descriptions of what constitutes an Islamophobic opinion. So if you think, for example, saying Islam is not a religion of peace is an Islamophobic opinion. So it's controlling opinions on Islam and telling us what opinions we can or can't hold on Islam according to an Islamic standard. As per Sharia, it's blasphemy law. It will all hang on how Islamophobia is defined, of course.
Yeah.
But, of course, Diane Abbott is all over it as well and wants to take down websites of far-right extremists and pretend that the problem is the extremism in general, so they can ignore the religious element of it. They're going to use this to shut us down. I mean, who is Diane Abbott? Whose sites would she like to be taken down?
So do you believe you should have a total free will to criticise every aspect of Islam if you wish?
Of course, it's particularly important that we can criticise Islam. It's particularly important that we can criticise religion. It's the essence of freedom. This is an ideology which claims to speak on the behalf of the creator of the universe and wants total control over life. You have to be able to criticise that and mock and satirise it. It's a vital, vital freedom. And particularly when Islam actually, imposes the death penalty for criticising it, gives us, I think, a bit of a duty to criticise it.
And what would you criticise about it?
Oh, how many? Where do I start? The treatment of women, the lack of thought freedom, the thought control, the blasphemy laws, the apostasy laws. This is a prison. If you risk death at the hands of the state for leaving a religion, you're in prison. You're in a psychological prison. It's endless. The treatment of women is inhuman.
Why do you think the left in particular, and indeed, because it's Theresa May this now, why do you think the establishment elite then constantly try to defend it?
They can tie it all in with open borders and calling us racists and, this is Western supremacy and white supremacy and all the rest of it. And they tie Islamophobia in with all of that and confuse it all. So, it's easy to manipulate people. But it's all about, for the politicians, it's the borders. They're not going to real action will involve controlling borders, and that's where the problem is for the mainstream politicians. So they'll continue to sanitise, continue to call the rest of us far right.
But meanwhile, they'll allow a march through London with people carrying terrorist flags.
Of course, I mean we've had incredible, obvious double standards on this stuff for a long time. It's incredible manipulation by the media of public opinion, or an attempt at manipulation, but it's not working quite so well anymore. I'm optimistic about that, at least.
Now, we've had Raheem Kassam on today. He's written a piece on Breitbart defending you against what he calls the kind of inner circle of UKIP who seem to be attacking you, including people like Bill Etheridge, who wrote an article in the a letter to the Daily. He must have had help to the Daily Telegraph. What do you make of that?
I haven't read it, and I've got no intention of reading it. You know, I've got events lined up. I'm going around to the branches and speaking to the grassroots. I'm not interested, to be honest, in what they say about me. I'm just going to keep on talking to the members. And
he said people like you should be consigned to 1930s Germany. I think he thinks you're a Nazi, Anne-Marie.
Well, given that I repeatedly condemn the anti-Semitic attacks that are happening across Europe, reintroducing violent anti-Semitism to Europe is what has happened with Muslim immigration. And as Muslim immigration goes up, so do anti-Semitic attacks. So I'm not sure I'm the Nazi here, or the one with any worries, Nazi ideology-wise.
Are you still convinced that you want to be leader?
Oh, God. Look,
Nigel Farage told me it was like...
done.
Hang on. Nigel Farage told me it was like herding cats. Are you up to it, Anne-Marie?
Absolutely. I'm no stranger to hard work, and I'm no stranger to herding cats either. So it has to be done. I know it's going to be hard, but it has to be done. There are big issues at stake here.
Good talking to you, Anne-Marie. Look after yourself. Anne-Marie Waters talking about Theresa May. She wants to basically introduce a blasphemy law, but only against Islam. This world is going crazy, like every religion. You know about Piers Morgan? Put that book down. Put that book down. He sounded like a teacher at a private